Last week I did a video on reading diversely within fiction, and today I'm going to do a video about reading diversely within non-fiction. The first book I have to recommend is Between the World and Me by Nehisi-Coates, who is a journalist, and this is a father's letter to his son about what it is like to grow up being perceived as black in an America that is still quite racially divided. After reading this, I basically tried to recommend it to everyone because it is hands down one of the most important books I have ever read, especially in light of current events. The second book I want to talk about is I Am Malala by Malala Yousafzai, who is at the moment 19, I think, and I think when she wrote the book she was 16 or 17. And you might be thinking, why on earth would I be reading a book written by a 16 or 17-year-old? Which I don't agree with, but a lot of people have this sentiment. And let me tell you who Malala Yousafzai is, if you don't know already. She, as a young child, was an activist for the education of girls within her home country, Pakistan. And when she was 15, she was targeted and shot in the face by the Taliban. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty interesting life. It offers glimpses into her previous family life before shit hit the fan, and her eventual move to England to try save her life after being shot in the head. She is strong and amazing and has so many important things to say. It was an absolute joy to read. The third book I want to talk about is Escape from Camp 14 by Blaine Harden, who is a journalist. And this is a biography of a man named Shin Dong Hyuk, who is reputed to be the only person who's ever escaped from a maximum security internment camp in North Korea, which is basically a prison. When you're reading this, you come to realize how terrible humans can really be to one another. It's a hard read, I will say, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since I read it. After I finished reading the book, I went online to see if I could find any interviews of Shin Dong Hyuk, and I will say that this is not a story with a particularly happy ending. Yes, he did escape, but he was confronted with a world he really struggled to deal with and handle. And in an interview with Anderson Cooper, he mentioned that videos of the Holocaust made him cry because he felt like he was still transforming from an animal into a man. So yeah, do go read it. It gives us very important reminders about the harsh realities of some people's lives. The fourth book I'm going to talk about is also not the happiest, as evidenced in its title. It's called First They Killed My Father. Loung is Cambodian who eventually settled in America. This is a memoir of her time as a child soldier. So she managed to survive the Pol Pot regime and live under the Khmer Rouge against all odds. She was separated from her family for many years and amazingly ended up reunited with a few of them before they made the move to America. At least a quarter of Cambodia's population were completely decimated under Pol Pot, and I believe that is a conservative estimation. Can you imagine? So do give that a go, and maybe bring a box of tissues with you just in case you cry lots, because I sure did. The fifth book I want to talk about before moving on to my TBR shelf is Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi, or Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi, and it is a graphic autobiography. It was originally written in the French but has since been translated into loads of languages. This covers a period of Marjane Satrapi's life between her childhood and early adult life. It weaves between the old almost unrecognizable secular Iran and the new religious modern Iran, as well as Austria and France. The narrative itself is cultured and vibrant and has themes such as constant displacement, trying to find oneself, the constant pressures of living between two cultures and two times. And it was such a great read. I read it a few years ago. I reread it since. I'm currently rewatching the movie, but in French this time, and what can I say? It's wonderful. Now onto my TBR shelf. Now these are books I want to read but I haven't got to yet. So the first book is In Order to Live by Park Yeon-mi, and this is another book about North Korea, this time of and by a woman who managed to escape with her sister and her mother, but ended up in horrible, terrible situations, I believe. And I've seen interviews with her, and she is such a confident, powerful voice that I know I need to read the book. The second book I want to talk about is The Good Immigrant, edited by Nikesh Shukla, and this is a collection of essays written by different people about what it is like to be an immigrant in a new country, and in many times even your own country that you've lived in for a while but will always be considered an immigrant, the pressures of that, the frustrations of it. And I think, especially in light of our world currently, that it is good and important to read more things like this. The third book I want to talk about is An African in Greenland by Tété-Michel Kpomassie. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. Kpomassie? It's a memoir about Tété-Michel Kpomassie's epic trip to Greenland, because as a boy he had read about it and thought, I must go there one day, and he did, and sounds bloody amazing if you ask me. Sounds like a fairy tale in real life, so I really want to read that as well. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know if you've read any of the books or are planning to do so. I'd love to hear from you. See you next time. Bye.